As we discovered the other day in the little quiz, the title of my job title on my card is chaotic agent, and a few people asked me what that is, so I thought I might tell you the story of where I got the name from. So the story involves several characters. We've got Martin Farrell, Roy, and this character called D. Hock. We'll meet them all as we go on, that's D. And there's also an extra character, Slime Mould. I don't know who's heard of what slime mould is. Okay, yeah, one person knows slime mould. Okay, he'll make an appearance later. So let's start with Farrell here. Yeah, there he is dishing out his patterns. When I was a young I was very influenced by his patterns of enterprise architecture. And that led me, in the beginning of that, he talks a bit about ThoughtWorks. And so kind of that led me to discover ThoughtWorks and sort of want to kind of work for them. And obviously ThoughtWorks is kind of led by our glorious leader, Roy. And so kind of when I was applying for the job and looking at the interview, I kind of read some of the history about ThoughtWorks. And that's kind of really the story of this talk, really, is where my job title comes from, Roy. So has everybody heard of Roy's social experiment? So often people talk about ThoughtWorks as being Roy's social experiment. So kind of when I was finding out about this, I was like, okay, where did that come from? And if you go back in time, even further than now, back in about 1989, Roy attended a conference in which D. Hock was speaking. And D. actually said that the 21st century is all about thoughtware, not kind of building, manufacturing, and all that. So who's D, and what is his kind of like story? So D is most famous for starting the visa company. Has everybody heard of Visa? Has everybody heard of D. Hock before? So the story of Visa is quite extraordinary. D used to work for, I think it's like the Bank of America. And he had this job to get everybody, all the banks, to cooperate in creating a single credit card system. Because they were all trying to do their own credit cards. I'm not sure when this is, in like the 70s or something. And obviously it's pretty hard. So he got all the bankers together from all the different banks around the world. And he had to kind of get them all to agree to do a single Visa card thing, which was very difficult and involved a lot of collaboration. But then they had this problem. So he managed to get them all to agree, but they had this problem that they needed to basically print something like 100,000 letters and credit cards in about 3 months. And they couldn't get the printing presses for the credit cards or the letters. So what he did was get like 200 people in a big warehouse, bought a printing press, and bought a paper printer, and just left them in the room and said, right, this is your goal. Your goal is in 2 months, we need to have printed like 100,000 and mailed 100,000 credit cards. But he just left them to it. And they basically succeeded and kind of got all the credit cards printed and done. And they basically just totally organised themselves. And so he kind of had this thing. This is actually from Martin Farrell's Agile Manifesto article that he first published about the Agile Manifesto. And he's basically talking about emergent behaviour, self-organisation. And this is where our slime mould comes in. So the slime mould is actually a lot of small organisms, like they're called protozoans. They're very small, like bacteria-like things. And they have this really amazing kind of thing. It's the sand. So we're going to see a bit of slime mould in a second. But basically they have these kind of, these are like flagella, which means a wavy. I'm just going to let you watch the slime mould. Don't forget, there's like millions of tiny little things, and nobody's telling them what to do. They're just like sticking together. That's it. And this is called like emergent behaviour. So basically, by some very simple rules, they just sort of, they don't really have any, they don't want no brain. They just protozoans, and yet somehow they kind of stick together. If you like split them apart, they'll sort of join back together. And this guy also, I read quite a bit of this book before, and he's talked a lot about this emergent behaviour. That's definitely something if you want to like follow up on. He kind of compares it to software systems. And this is where Dee kind of was also observing this in his work when he got all these people. There was a lot of chaos and all stuff around. Somehow out of it came this like order, and he kind of made up this word, chaotic, by sticking the two words together. And so he also wrote a book. So when I was applying to ThoughtWorks, I found all this out. Not all of it, I found it somewhere. But so yeah, then I read this book. I read it in about a day. I can totally recommend it. It's a really good read. And he describes the whole journey of Visa from when he started. He was kind of like not very good at his job, and he never really knew where he fitted in. And he ended up kind of running this like massively multinational company, and all through just like the evolution of self-organisation. And so, jumping forward, I got my job at ThoughtWorks, and I was actually with Patrick on working for the Guardian newspaper. And my first day going on to the Guardian project was like just being immersed in that entire world of chaoticness. There was like hundreds of people in the room, all just standing up, just having a big stand-up, and it was amazing. This is it's a bit dark, but yeah, that's me on my immersion as well. And kind of that's our Lego creature that we built. And so kind of similar to you guys, actually it's quite a good example. Like we had a bit of chaoticness going on earlier on, where everybody's kind of like doing their own thing, self-organising, and kind of like just it's awesome. Really, that is where the thing comes from. And I'm continually finding it in all my projects. And so when I kind of, I don't know if everybody knows that you can choose your own job title on your business cards. So I was thinking about it after doing investment. I was thinking a lot about self-organising and facilitation stuff. I thought I always wanted to have like agent in my job title. So I was going to like double agent and all that. So I thought I'd like introduce something that had some kind of meaning to it. And as I think I've managed to talk for about 6 minutes on the meaning, then I think probably all right. So that's the story of my